Hi, welcome to Promo Insiders, an ASI media podcast that covers the issues that matter most to the promotional products industry. I'm Chris Ruvo for ASI. I recently attended Merchandise World, the United Kingdom's largest promo trade show, and if there was one major theme to the show, it was sustainability. Suppliers from across Europe exhibited. Seemingly every one of them had some sustainability story to tell about their products and/or operations. As one supplier put it, sustainability is not a trend, it's a movement. There has been a growing focus on sustainability in promo North America, too. Still, it seemed like our European counterparts might be a bit further down the road on the movement, which got me thinking, is what's happening in Europe a foreshadowing of what's to come here? And what can we learn? Here to help with that and more is Nick, help me with the last name, Nick van Engelenburg, right?
Van Engelenburg.
All right, there we go.
It's a very Dutch name.
Yes, it's a proper Dutch pronunciation. Nick is a sales leader with Clipper. They're a Netherlands-based supplier that's doing some very interesting things with sustainability and everything from product materials to how they operate. So, Nick, thank you for being with us and thank you for helping me with the name.
Not a problem, Chris. Thank you for having me.
All right, you got it. So, for everybody who is listening live, you can type your questions in. Please, we'll try to get to them if we can. Comments are welcomed as well. But without further ado, Nick, let's get into the first question. So, how do you and Clipper define sustainability? This word gets thrown around a lot, but what does it really mean to you and your company?
Well, for me and the company, it would actually mean, exactly what it says. You want to produce items in a sustainable way, something that can keep on going like in an infinite amount of times. You want to not produce only 1,000 of items. You want to be able to do the next 1,000 and millions after that. So the promotional industry used to be somewhat cost-based, and it would be cheap produced promotional items that would really use up all the resources that were there. If we kept going in this direction, eventually all the resources would be gone. So we already took like ahead of the curve by saying, no, we want to make actual sustainable items which we can produce over and over again and actually have zero footprint below the line. So you can actually have zero footprint or even negative footprint when you buy promotional items from us.
Okay, so that's a very interesting concept, and I think one in like a in the consumer driven, if you will, Western world, that's different. It's a changing way of looking at products and consumption and everything, and it seems like that's something that's coming more to the fore. Not just at Clipper, but it seems in Europe in general. So, given how you've just defined sustainability, is demand for sustainable items from your distributor clients and their clients in Europe, is that growing? Is that part of what's propelling this?
Yeah, it has definitely been growing. Like, of course, we need to make it economically sound as well. You cannot just offer items from the top of your mind because you feel this way. There also needs to be a demand, of course. And there's definitely a growing demand for sustainable items. Also because companies, they don't want to be associated with cheaply produced, not green items anymore, because it really damages their reputation. A lot of people that the product would end up with, they would say, okay, very nice that I got this item, but actually giving it to me is actually bad for the environment, bad for the world, and it would depreciate the value and the message that the company would try to give.
It's interesting because that perspective that you share, there's some of that certainly going on in the U.S. / Canada, but when I was over in Europe talking with some people, that seems to be even more prominent over there, where end users or recipients of a promotional product are saying, I don't even want this. This is just, I'm going to throw this out. This is quote junk, Yeah. But if you can flip that narrative, right? If you're providing them with a product that has this story of sustainability, where it's made with quote unquote sustainable materials, where it has that zero waste factor, where that then takes that negative perspective and completely turns it on its head. So it sounds like some of that end recipient reaction is what's driving the push in Europe to make these types of items.
Yeah, definitely. Like, we really feel like there's a big change now. It actually started in Europe maybe a little bit before, like it did in the US and Canada. we saw this change in demand. I've done sales at Interroll Group for 4 years now, and you really see the percentage of requests for promotional sustainable items really grew from maybe 20% 4 years ago, and now it's nearly all of the requests that we get is for sustainable items. So really, it's the mindset as well from the distributors and from the end clients, because distributors are also helping us pushing this idea, of course.
Okay. And that you bring up an interesting point there too. So I don't want to go too far afield, but how are you helping distributors understand, what makes your products or sustainable products in general different, and how they can position that to end clients? Is there like an education factor that goes on too?
There is definitely an education factor. Like, we actually base our WOW sustainable assortment in 4 different product groups. That would be waste materials, bio-based materials, recycled materials, and natural products, totally natural products. So that way you can have a little bit of distinguishment between the different products that we offer. And we have a large marketing portal where you can find all catalogs, and we try to explain for each item what the sustainable element is for it. Like, you can get a notebook without knowing that it's made from, for instance, recycled leather or coffee waste materials. And then it just loses its value. It's the whole story behind it. It's the production method and the whole sustainable element that will sell the item eventually.
Yeah.
So people would need to know it.
Yeah, it's a great point. And again, it's one that some of the conversations I had over there with distributors and suppliers, they emphasize that over and over. It was this, hey, there's a story to this product. And as a distributor, you're not just going there and saying, hey, this one looks nice, this one looks nice, this one's a little cheaper, this one's a little bit more. You're saying, listen, there's this whole narrative behind, okay, this is made from you. Clipper does a journal, right? That's made from coffee grinds, if I recall.
Yeah, I have it right here.
Okay, there.
Maybe I can show it.
And so if I'm a distributor going to an end client who's looking for, I have this whole story to tell about the process that went into making this, how it actually has an aroma of coffee to the cover and everything, how the pages are made from. I don't want to misspeak. Is it's recycled?
It's recycled paper. So it's just a cover that is actually made from. So this part is made from coffee waste material. And we put the banderole on it, and also the first page is printed with an explanation of actually how it's made. So it's in reverse now, but you can see that it's made from a cup of coffee. And we try to explain for all our items how it's made, from what it's made, and what the impact would be. Like when you compare it to a non-green item. And we also offer it with like printed packaging in, like, of course, recycled cardboard with a story behind it, because that's really important to just convey the story behind each of the items. Otherwise, they're just going to think it's just a regular, funny notebook that smells like coffee, but I don't know what it's made from. So you really want to convey the message.
Yeah, so that's so important, and then it gives those end clients, those recipients, those people who are putting their branding on something, on a product, I should say. That gives them a story to then go to market with and tell, and that helps build their brand and associates them with positive things like, hey, we're being eco-conscious, we're trying to be better to the planet in how we market ourselves. So it becomes a win all around when you bring that story element into it. So my next question, we kind of jumped into a little bit already, but I'll just ask it anyway. Not just talking about Clipper here, just talking about suppliers broadly in Europe, and then also distributors. What are suppliers and distributors in Europe doing to meet the demand for sustainable products? Maybe you could kind of tell us just how things have evolved there over the last few years, and just developments you've seen in the marketplace when it comes to sustainability, both in products and then also in operations as well.
Yeah. Well, as you know, the transportation costs plus the CO2 footprint when purchasing items in the Far East and getting them over, especially for bulky items and very large volume items, it gets very, very expensive. Plus, your CO2 footprint is just massive when you produce somewhere else and you want to import it thousands of kilometers away. So we try to focus on local production. So we've really we've sourced local producers that are now producing items for us in Europe. So which is much better, of course, for cost effective, and also you can have more quality control. Plus, we are a little bit more advanced in Europe when it comes to these sustainable items.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, of course, you don't have the CO2 footprint when you get it over from by boat or by airplane, which is even worse, from the Far East.
Okay. Can you give us an example? I remember we were talking at the show, and you showed me. I think it was a leather. It was a leather case, leather portfolio. You might have that available as well. There was a cool product, like I think it was made from like apple bits, right? Like apple.
Yeah,
cores.
I do have it here. This is one of my personal favorites. It's actually this one is a toiletry bag, or you can put your cables in it. It's made from apples, so it's actually made from. This is one of the. Well, it kind of overlaps. It's a waste stream, plus it is a natural product, of course, apples. We do not use the apple itself, but just the waste of it. So it's the core of it. It's the little stem. It's the material comes from Italy, and what they do is they crush it and they bind it by potato starch material. So even the binding agent is a bio-based material. So this really like. This really feels like leather. You felt it yourself, of course, when we were in England. But so the quality is great. It's produced in the material comes from Italy, and we produce it in the Netherlands. So they can sew all kinds of items from it, large laptop cases, but also smaller items. We do, for instance, notebooks from it. We do keychains. You name it. We can make it from this material. And since you produce it in Europe, the quality is of very high standards. Plus, you have a short. You can talk to the factory and say, can you maybe make a little bit like a different zipper on it? Can you make it a little bit different to meet the demands of the clients? And that's not a problem, of course.
So that product in particular, to me, really encapsulates, I think, where so many things are going within our industry, and even in consumer products at retail level when it comes to sustainability. So what you told us is we have a not biohazard, but bio waste material in apple cores that we're using, right? So that's a good thing. We're not using any chemicals there. We then have the binding agent is a natural product because it's potato starch. You're based in Netherlands. This is being the apple core. The waste is being sourced from Italy, which isn't around the corner, but it's not that far. You're not going to China for it, so you're reducing carbon footprint, and then you're actually making everything right there in the Netherlands, which is your primary market where you're selling. So that's another huge reduction in carbon footprint. So you have that marriage of materials, sourcing, and then local production that kind of all comes together to make what we might define as like a truly sustainable product, right?
Yeah, correct. And we have a lot of items that actually touch base on so many different levels. We have a social responsibility as well. Therefore, we work together with the Plastic Bank. I don't know if you're familiar with this corporation.
I mean, you can tell us about it if you like. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. So this is a corporation that is based in Indonesia and the Philippines, and also in Haiti, I believe. So they have these plastic banks there that they pay the local impoverished community to actually hand over plastic waste that they get from the rivers before it enters the ocean. What they do is they get a monetary value for each kilogram that they bring to the plastic bank. The plastic bank washes this material. They shred it into very small granules. And we have a partnership with the plastic bank, so we can purchase this material. So we got a large container of this material, got it sent over to Europe, and we use this to create all kinds of different nice items, such as a frisbee, some sunglasses, ice scraper. Like the possibilities are endless. So you have this social element where you pay impoverished people in impoverished countries so they can have food on the table, they can put their children to school. You actually have a nice story to tell for the products that you're going to sell. And you reduce ocean plastic waste, but before it enters the ocean even. So you take it out of the rivers before it enters the ocean.
Those are all great points, and that's a very important tie-in I think you made, and we should emphasize it, that sustainability doesn't exist in a vacuum, right? Like it's often done in conjunction with, and many people consider it part and parcel with, what we might call corporate social responsibility, like that, like doing good into the world and making sure you're supporting people around the globe, and people who products you create or areas from which you source might be affected by. So that's a very important element too.
Yeah. We should
let
keep
me-
in mind that like the people that live in Haiti and Indonesia and in the Philippines, they either have to choose. They're gonna pick. They are. It's an eyesore as well to have these plastic bottles in their rivers. They don't like it, but they need to choose. Are they gonna make money, the work for a boss, or are they gonna clean up the rivers? So now they can actually combine it, and they can actually make money by cleaning up the river. So it really works very well.
All right, brilliant there, and another great example of responsible sourcing and how you could work these factors into your supply chain and still make really cool products and still make money. So it's a win for everybody. So speaking of that, cool products, you had alluded to Clipper's Wow collection before, which really kind of focuses on sustainable items. Can you tell us a little bit about how that collection came about? And you've already given some cool examples from it, but if you want to talk just other things, just products, just kind of the story of the collection.
I have some very cool, nice products here that I can show briefly. But maybe first I can give a small introduction of how Clipper came about the Wow Sustainable range. Just the beginning of this year, actually, Interol Group, which was a relatively small company based in the city of Amsterdam, was purchased by Clipper Gift. So they now joined forces, and in that way they made a giant leap when it comes to sustainability. The Wow collection was actually part of the Interol Group. They've been doing it for about 4 to 5 years, and I was part of Interol Group, and now we obviously work together, and we move as one. But because we were a relatively small company, we had the flexibility to move fast with different ideas that others maybe were a little bit too big and they couldn't get it through. So that's why we have an assortment that really is different than from others. Just as an example, we have this wine cooler. This is actually a wine cooler. This is made from fungus. So it's actually made from fungus, made from mushrooms.
All right.
Yeah,
that's pretty wild.
Yeah, so that sort of stuff. We and also one that we used to do, but we have a little bit of problems now with the supplier, which was a notebook made from elephant poop.
Is that right?
Actual elephant dung. Yeah. So it's
we're talking about stories behind a product. That is a story behind a product.
That is a story behind a product. So it really hits base with a lot of different elements. You can use all kinds of stuff. We have done the espresso notebook this notebook that I just showed you. We have done actually in cooperation with a distributor here in Europe. We have collected the waste from Nespresso. They send us the waste, so it's actually not the coffee beans. It's the waste that you get from when you make a coffee cup. So it's the wet stuff that's in your filter. We collected it, so we actually pallets of it. So 6 or 7 pallets get sent to our production site. They dry it, make compound out of it, and they make these nice notebooks out of it. And then we sell it back to Nespresso through the distributor, of course, and they can hand it to their customers or sell it in the shops and saying, this is actually made from our own waste, which really, it works so well because you really want to...
Full circle, right?
The whole circle. That's the whole thing. We want to create a circular economy. And also it really gives an extra value to the product. The people think it's so cool. We've also done, I don't know if you're familiar with the airline KLM. We have actually got their uniforms. We shredded them and we made notebooks out of them, and we sold it back. And then, like, the possibilities are endless. So we can also make
it back to KLM is like the Dutch national
Dutch airline. Yeah, I think they're together with Air France as well now.
Yeah. Okay.
But, they're very big, at least in Europe. So these kinds of things, they're just great. If you can make your own waste stream, it just really hits base with what we are trying to do here. And also the message that these companies want to tell. So they want to say, we are thinking about the environment. We are really concerned about, we have all this waste standing in our warehouse. We don't know what to do with it. Could you help? Can we make something cool out of it? And yes, we can.
Yeah, and yes, you can. And that's such a cool opportunity for for suppliers, manufacturers who, if you're taking this perspective and this approach of, how can we get creative about using waste materials, you suddenly open up all kinds of marketplace opportunities for yourself. And that's going to make you so much more attractive to obviously end clients, but distributors who are looking for something unique that they can pitch. Like, hey, I'm a distributor and I'm saying I have a partner who can take your old uniforms, and completely repurpose them into different products that we could then brand for you. That, I mean, how do you not love that as the end buyer, right?
Yeah. So this is also, I think it's great to work in such a company that really has products. Like I want to have a passion for what I do, of course, like all salespeople obviously do. And if it's just like, oh, we have this bottle, we have it in red and we have it in black, and that's about it, and it's this cheap, it doesn't really ring a bell. But when you can say the whole story and say you want to create a circular economy and really make the world a better place, especially the promotional industry, is always based upon cheaply produced items. You want to give 5,000 items of 10 cents or 50 cents instead of 1,000 items of €1 or one USD in this case. So it really helps the sales pitch as well. And it really, you see the people have a passion for it. So when you do these pitches, you really see it resonates with people.
Okay. All right. Now you mentioned doing pitches. Obviously, part of that, you have to have, you're marketing these products, and a thing that comes up, and it's a reality, is greenwashing, right? Where people use buzzwords associated with sustainability, but their products or their operations, it doesn't really apply to them. So how can suppliers like Clipper and others, prove that their products really are meeting parameters that make them sustainable? And what kind of, I guess, proof are distributors and end clients asking for in that regard?
Yeah, that's a big thing, since greenwashing is obviously a big problem. That's why we have a large compliance team that works on compliance documents. We never launch an item before it went through compliance and all the parameters are set, and we have all the documentations in order. We have all kinds of testing facilities that we send these items to, like SGS. We have all Intertech. We have all these different rules that we have to follow before we can say this item is bio-based, or this item contains, we can never say, this item contains 90% RPET without even testing it. So we need to have proof of it. And it's done by an external office. So it's obviously not done by us, like a butcher grading his own meat.
Right,
no,
sure.
So we actually do it. We have to. Like, I don't know how it is in the US, but you are obliged to hand over these documents.
Okay.
You can actually not market an item if it's false advertisement.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Having to meet that then gives, of course, peace of mind to your distributors, or more than, it not only legally protects them as they pitch these things to their price. They are also assured that, hey, I really am working with a supplier who's above board and who is producing items in accordance with true sustainability standards. So having that, what kind of investment is involved in that? I mean, is it substantial?
It is substantial. Well, it actually depends per item. Some items are quite easy to get through compliance. Like, we also have a bamboo cup, which is just bamboo. It's just it's 100% bamboo. Some other items are a little bit more difficult, such as the chargers, the electronic parts, or toys, for instance, that you need to do some toy testing, Intertech testing. So it really depends on the item, but there's a large investment to it. But we're happy to do it, of course, to really prove what we are saying is actually correct. Plus, we work with these distributors that actually have very large clients, like the biggest ones on the planet, the Googles and the Shells, everything.
Yeah.
And they actually do not do business with if you don't have these compliance documents. They actually say, we need to have it in advance, otherwise don't even bother give us an offer, because it just,
we're not interested.
We're not interested. You need to be above board with all the standards, and what your promise needs to be correct.
All right. And I think a big takeaway too for distributors who might be listening to this, whether in Europe or in North America, is if you have a client who is looking for quote unquote sustainable items, and you're sourcing an array of products for them, and it might be from different suppliers, before you actually present those as quote sustainable items, talk to the supplier and get the documentation that shows that, because it should be on file to some degree. There should be something there that shows, hey, this is how we source this. This is why we can make this claim that, this item is quote eco or such for these reasons. So ask for that documentation, because
Definitely.
there are unscrupulous players in the market. Like every market has them. Ours is not immune, and you want to make sure you're really working with the real deal.
For us, it's very, very easy. When you visit www.clippergifts.com, there's actually, you can see all our items, and you can actually download the compliance document straight away from the product page. So that you can actually, it makes it simple. You don't even have to ask it. You just click the button, and you will see all necessary compliance documents for this item.
Very, very forward thinking there, making it easy for your customers to do that. So, we're kind of getting toward the end here, Nick. I wanted to ask you this, kind of pull back the lens, if you will, look more broadly. How do you see sustainability impacting operations and product development in promo, say over the next few years? Do you think the influence will grow, and what might that look like?
Well, I definitely think the influence will grow. Like we are definitely the emphasis is going to be on sustainability, and not the price is going to be less of an impact. So that, like, the suppliers, the distributors, they are going to source sustainable items, and like I said, the story behind it is going to sell it. So if the story is correct, the budget will grow with it. Like we said, how cool is it if you can make an item from your own waste? And then if it's like 50 cents more expensive, so be it, because you really want to convey the message. And also in the upcoming years, like I said, the compliance documents need to be in order. And maybe some smaller companies can get away with selling green items that are not green. But in 2 years' time, I don't think it's going to be possible anymore, because you need to have this testing done. So even the smaller players in the industry, they're going to have a little bit more difficulties, because they might not want to be able to do these investments for these testings for older items. So I believe that it's gonna be a lot more focused on sustainability, plus the story behind it.
All right, interesting. Just you kind of said it well there, but just any kind of final thoughts for anybody on either Clipper, sustainability, what's going on in Europe? Anything you want to leave us with?
Well, I'm gonna say that I'm gonna be the inside account manager for the rest of the world region. So please feel free to contact me with any questions or like offer requests you might have. You can contact me at clippergifts.com. Sales@clippergifts.com, and please visit our website. You will see that there's a lot of out of the box items that might resonate with you, and if you need more information, feel free to contact us. And the whole idea is to obviously make the industry as a whole a little bit more sustainable, and in the end, a lot more sustainable, of course. But I know that it's going to go in small steps. It's not going to be one giant leap. So we're working on it, but we have to do it together. So distributors, the end consumers, suppliers, also the large factories, we all need to work together to just reduce our footprint and make it a better world.
Yeah, I think it's a great final thought, and I would just say that distributors in North America, I do see what's happening in Europe starting to play out on a larger scale in North America too. So if you can start identifying suppliers that already have a significant head start in on the sustainability front and have those products and have documentation, I'd start looking to partner more closely with them now, because I do think that, as Nick said, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be the biggest thing, but it is a growing thing in our industry, and it's going to become more and more prominent, and I think more and more significant, particularly as younger generations move into decision-making roles in the business world. So Nick, thank you so much for being with us today. Super appreciate it. I know it's later over there than it is here, so thanks for making some time after work to chat with us. Appreciate it so much.
Thanks a lot, Chris. Have a nice day.
You too.